Welcome and thank you for joining us on the Your Project Shepherd Construction podcast. My name is Curtis Lawson with Shepherd Construction Advisors, and along with my industry expert friends, I am here to guide you through these 4 key components of a successful project, which are demonstrated by this simple drawing of a house. The foundation is proper planning. The left wall is your team, the right wall is communication, and the roof is proper execution. Have all 4 of these components in place, and your project will succeed. Whether you're building or remodeling a custom home, or if you're an architect or designer looking for inspiration, or maybe you're just interested in building science and high-performance construction, you're in the right place. And now, let's get to today's interview. Well, hey, welcome back to this episode of the Your Project Shepherd podcast. As always, I'm your host, Curtis Lawson, and sitting beside me is the Tonto to my Lone Ranger.
That's right.
Toner Kersting.
I'm back. I took a hiatus. After summer, I needed to get reset, and I'm so happy to be back. This is awesome.
You can call me Kimosabe if you want.
I could, yes.
Oh my God. That's what he says all the time.
All right.
Yeah.
And
so pick up the phone.
And so sitting across from us here with Slabsure, we've got Adrian Vuyk. Did I say that right?
You did get it right.
All right. And Curt Krippner.
That's correct.
Who has the second best name in the room.
There you go. That's all right. I'll take that. That's all right.
So which one of you is Tonto? Which one's the Lone Ranger? Or who's Kimosabe over here?
Well, he always, every time I call him, he goes, Kimosabe. So I guess I'm Kimosabe.
Awesome. So like I said, Adrian and Curt are with Slabsure, and we're here to talk today about foundation monitoring, foundation repair. So as we kind of get this conversation kicked off, why don't you guys just tell us, first of all, about Slabsure, the history of Slabsure, and then how you guys came together and what your roles are in the company.
Sure.
I'll start that off. Thank you for having us. First of all,
sure.
Excited to be here. Toner passed on I saw a link on LinkedIn. So got to check this out, and it's exciting to be here. So Slabsure, what we are is the company is Steadfast Foundation Technologies. Our brand is Slabsure. And what we do is we monitor foundations for movement, pretty much anything that moves. It can be commercial, it can be residential. We focus on residential, and the way that we do that is with sensor technology like this. I'm sure we'll get into that, but it's sensors that are mounted 10 feet apart on a tube, it wraps around the house. You never see it. What the homeowner sees is they see the status of the foundation, just like a check engine light. And it sees that everything's okay, or there's some reason to intervene. And what the resellers, which are typically foundation repair companies, what they see is they see the why. They see all the data. They can plug in all remotely. They can see exactly what's happening. They have true diagnostic tool to help figure out what's going on, so they can provide a good solution to help maintain that foundation and keep it flat forever.
How long has it been around?
The company was started in 2017. My background is oil and gas, and so I had an aha moment in 2001 or so. My brother was building a house, or not building, sorry. He bought a house not far from here in Meyerland. And he closed on his house, and it was within a few weeks. They saw this water outside the front yard, and like, what's going on? And they had it inspected and all that kind of stuff. And what they discovered was a giant washout under his house. Big enough to put a Volkswagen bus in. Gigantic, right? Major foundation issue. I was building a house in the Woodlands at the same time on some acreage. So when you're out there, you're the one doing everything. It was a custom home, and we had soil brought in, and there was a huge difference between the soils. They miscalculated how much soil needed to be bring in to get the elevation right. So I had dark brown over here and light brown over there. I was like, well, that's odd. That's going to be a problem. I don't want to have a fault line running through my house. Well, in oil and gas, we were building tools for intervention, right? So you have an oil well that's 30,000 feet away.
Yeah, monitoring what's underground is super important with oil and gas.
It is. Yeah. And so you have 30,000 feet of casing is what it is, just a big pipe. Oil's coming out. Well, if that oil gets blocked because of soil movement, right, the earth moves, it can pinch off. It doesn't have to be complete restriction, but you can't get the tools in and out anymore.
Yeah.
And so that's what I was doing. I was designing tools for oil and gas and running those tools and, commercializing technology. I thought, holy cow, we always start with a problem well defined. We always monitor those oil wells in 3D, right? We know how it's moving up, down, left, right. We can see where those pinch points are because we have baseline data, right? When the well was drilled, we stop every joint or every 10 meters or 30 feet, depending on how it's done, but they stop and take readings. It's like, we can do that at 30,000 feet. Why can't I measure my house that's literally standing in front of me and standing still?
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't move, right? I know more information about a 1990 car than that's going down the highway than I do about this stationary object. And I had this aha moment. I said, it's about measuring. And
3 inches in the ground's a lot better than 30,000.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. So we ended up, we said, all right, there's got to be a better way, and we've stumbled, and my wife watched me turn our garage into a giant lab and all that kind of stuff, and I found my passion. I found what I was looking for, and and then later on, I was very lucky to find Curt. Curt's a sales guru, and he's killing it in a totally different way. And we say, hey, we need sales, and so I just really reached out for an opinion, and he said, dude, that's amazing. I think I'd like to invest in this. And it's like, well,
it was easy for me. I mean, my background is in athletics and aviation and technology and things like that. Software sales back in the day, and I really didn't have a lot of passion for any kind of construction technology, data, whatever. And Adrian came up to me, and we do a little poker party with our neighbors at once a month. So it's a great little networking opportunity.
I'll see you next month.
Absolutely.
Are you good?
You know what? No.
Perfect.
We're always looking for more donors.
You have to always tell them you're not
That's
good.
right.
Though.
Yeah, it sucked.
We're looking for more donors, so you're more than welcome to come. But anyway, when he came up to me and said, hey, man, I wanted to talk to you about what I'm doing. And I won't reiterate everything we just heard, but he told me all about it. And I was like, and every time I hear an idea, I like to put myself in the same shoes as a potential consumer. Mm-hmm. Like, would I want this for me? Because if I don't say yes, then I don't want a part of it. Why would I have no passion behind it? If I believe in it, I'm all in. So I was like, why wouldn't anybody want this? Why would they not want a check engine light for their house? They have check engine lights for their car, and the house is a little more expensive than a car typically. Mm-hmm. So why wouldn't you want to make sure that's healthy? And if it's not quite right, I need an expert to come out here and check it out and go, you know what? I'm sure and glad you got this warning light here. You're about to have a big problem. But for now, you just need a little French drain here. You need to set your irrigation timing and this and that. And I think we're going to be able to save you a lot of money. Like, that makes sense. So I was like, I'm in. I mean, it makes too much sense. So I actually became an investor, as well as, helping on the sales side of things to keep the messages simple, clear, clean. Adrian is an amazingly smart guy, and he invented this, but he was like, you know what? Sometimes my engineer talk tracks may not resonate with everybody. So I'm like, I'm okay with the dumb it down thing. So,
there's a 12-step program for this.
Seriously though, because of that, we make a really great team, and we have other people behind us that are awesome, very smart technology guys that have developed what he's talking about today. So we're very excited about the team we have, but it's like a little family, but the reaching out to the reselling market, the repair companies, the big, huge foundation companies that you guys have heard that we've partnered with already, those are the experts for the clientele that really does need this, and the clientele that's really going to desire this once they hear more about it, because it just makes complete sense. So anyway,
so this is really about gathering data and monitoring data, right? Like you're not going to fix a foundation with it. It's just getting the alert that there's something going on that we need to look at, and it's setting a baseline and then evaluating, hey, where are we at today based on that baseline that we set, right?
Well, that's
right.
And I'll say this, Adrian and I met a long time ago. We were running in a similar circuit at the GHBA. And I was always really curious about what he did, and I love we dive into these really technical conversations about it, and I totally see the benefit of it. And it was interesting when we were first pitching it towards the homeowner or the end user, it was a lot of data that I would see may be misinterpreted. And that's a challenge because I get hired to come in and diagnose why is this foundation doing this when no one else can figure it out. Yep. And I have homeowners who produce these big spreadsheets. I've been taking all these measurements and I'm like, but where are those measurements from? Like, well, I took it from the soil. I'm like, from the soil? That's your baseline? So it was just, I had to always overcome the right information in the wrong hand. Mm-hmm. And so when I spoke with Adrian really early this year and I found out, okay, now this is going through the resale market, those folks are the right information in the right hand.
Exactly.
They know what it means. Now, if that is, 1,000 points of information, but the end user sees 4 points of information that, hey, we're doing okay, or something slightly out of skew, they get to trust that the right expert is already reviewing that. And there is something, the ounce of prevention, worth a pound of cure. So I'm from Dallas, which, and actually in my first business, the first building I ever bought was in Irving, Texas. That is a horrible foundation location. Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's a big clay pot and it's atrocious. Mm. And the amount of time that we took managing through that, had we known earlier that our foundation was becoming deficient, we could have made small moves instead of technically mega moves that we had to make. Mm-hmm. And I saw thousands of houses that had to deal with that. So normally you start with a repair. I need 3 piers. I need 10 piers. But if you did those repairs and then had Slabsure on top of it, you'd be able to identify when the other side of the house starts to become deficient, which is seesawing repairs and foundations is a real thing. Yep. You solidify a third of it, it is going to apply that pressure to the other 2/3 that are now less deficient. Yep. So, but we would know, okay, now this back left corner is our next area that we're going to see. And a good slab person will be able to identify that that's probably the most likely next location. Yep. And then when you have cracks, I'm dealing with one in Wimberley this week. So we will be I've already told them about y'all's product. This is going to happen. Yep. I just need to know who's the guy in Wimberley that does this, but I have a midline crack. Yep. So I have a rise right in the middle of it. Yep. And it's really, really early. And the reason why we know is that it did hollow tile installation. So that was the first sign. Yeah. In the middle of the night, it sounds like China is breaking in.
Oh my God.
Pop.
It's like this. And I'm like, it's going. Yeah. I don't know when. Right now we have a tile job, but we need to get a monitor on this, and we need to know when you're going to need that other thing. And the house is only 6 years old. Yep. So he's like, is this part of my structural warranty? And I'm like, there's a gray area in the structural warranty that pertains to foundations. And the reason why it's gray is no one's been able to definitively define if that failure is related to the time of construction
or maintenance,
or your maintenance.
Yeah.
Normally, what you blow off.
Yeah.
Or they say, hey, well, when we gave you the house, you didn't have 9 feet of mulch in your and all these other things.
Right.
So I think it's going to bring some clarity.
We didn't put the
gutters. It's always you never added gutters.
And that brings up a good point. Once in a while, while we're explaining how this works with reselling market and even some consumers here and there, like, well, I have got a warranty on my foundation. Why do I need this? I'm like, do you want to claim a warranty? Because when you're claiming, there's a lot of things going on. Mm-hmm. You've already got a cracked house. Mm-hmm. Now you got to prove a point to a company that doesn't want to pay it. You have to prove that you watered your yard properly and all this and that. And now it becomes a legal battle. Do you want to claim that? So it's like, absolutely not. Mm-hmm. I mean, we all have, hopefully all have health insurance. Mm-hmm. And I always tell people, because you have health insurance and your copay is only $30 when you go to the doctor, do you want to not put your seatbelt on? Because if you get in a wreck, you're covered?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. You're going to still drive safe, hopefully. Yep. You're going to still protect yourself. You don't want to claim insurance claims because that means you're hurt. Yeah. Let's not get there.
The foundation warranty currently in the marketplace is one of the few things that's worse than a mattress warranty or a tire warranty.
It's interesting. Yeah, exactly. You say that. We obviously we know the people in the warranty industry as well, right? In Greater Houston Builder Association, through them, there's a huge network of people in the insurance side and the warranties, right?
Yes.
And we looked at it and the amount of money that is actually spent on one of those warranties. As you know, right? You're a builder. You know what those things cost. You just kind of wonder what's really being covered in that. The reality is that when you find a deficiency, meaning that we had to pay something out, you write that out, right?
Yeah.
And because we don't want to do that. And that's really where we see an opportunity here, is that we are a data company. We're not the foundation repair company, right? We provide the information to reduce risk in the long term. That's what this is about, is per using data, just like the check engine light, right, comes out. And that's what changed for us. At World of Concrete, we launched this totally different approach and said,
real fast. World of Concrete is not an amusement park.
No. No. World of Concrete. That's fine. Yeah, World of Concrete's a show that goes on in Vegas, typically in January. We're going to be there again this next year. It was a huge hit for us.
Big annual trade show, biggest concrete-related trade show in the world.
I'm told it's the biggest show, period.
Yeah,
wow.
It could be. And I don't know if they measure it by weight or whatever. By weight, for sure.
Concrete's heavy.
It's insane. Yeah, exactly. But anyway, you get out there, and it's an amazing show. We, in January, we said, all right, we need to test this reseller model, because we had a Shopify website. People could buy the product directly. Homeowner could buy it. And what we had some foundation repair companies said, well, we're interested in this, but not if you put the price out there.
Yeah.
And so, well, okay, I get that, because then there's a threshold, right? So how much
we didn't want to compete with our partners.
No.
So we just completely made it only them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what we realized as well is, light bulb, you listen to the customer. It's amazing what happens when you do, right? The customer was telling us that, hey, we're going to ask questions and questions and questions and questions and questions and never actually buy, right? And even if they didn't have the solution. It was still just a check engine light. There wasn't a partner in there. And that's when we realized at World of Concrete and the reseller in particular, when they are a foundation repair company, now when the check engine light comes on, there's somebody there to help.
Yes.
Right. And we partnered, we are now very selective with who we pick. We pick the top of the market only. We want to have exclusive markets for them. We recognize that those resellers want to get a return on their marketing investment. And ultimately, the homeowners want to know that when they use this product as part of a repair or maybe preventive, that there's somebody there to back them up that says, all right, it turned yellow, now what?
And I think those resellers that use this, they have to be very confident in the quality of the work that they provide, because this is testing themselves. If they do a bad job, it will show up in the numbers.
Yep.
And that's the only person you really want to work with anyways.
Exactly.
Yep.
So, and that's going to ultimately, that's going to lead to a better business model for them and for the clients versus a lot of the other foundation repair folks that are just trying to get that one-time revenue and hope that, and say, see you later, and they'll never talk to them again.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think, and indirectly, the real pro of the monitoring being left behind after a repair isn't necessarily, I'm sure the repairs 99% of the time are done perfectly well. It's the peace of mind of the other 3/4 of the home they could not repair, because you can't anticipate a repair. You have to wait till it's broken.
Yeah.
So this is to ensure it doesn't happen again. And the homeowners obviously snake bit now. They're like, oh my God, am I on vulnerable ground? What's going to be next? What if the freeze happens now and a Hurricane Harvey comes again? And they're scared. This is going to make sure that at minimum, you might have some minimal repairs, but it's not going to be a disaster again.
And I know there's a stat out there, and Adrian, you may know that's the stat, but and for every foundation that receives a repair, there is a very high likelihood it will need another second or third repair. You have a compromised situation, not necessarily that the slab is compromised, but the earth doesn't like this slab being here, right? It's normally a reaction to Mother Earth. If it was a mechanical failure because of installation, that appears really, really early.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, and it's funny you say that. It's a complex world, right? I mean, it's you take readings, soil samples. I'm sure when you do a custom home, you require a certain number of soil samples, right?
Yeah.
Probably for your insurance companies and all that.
Well, the city requires it, the foundation company requires it, the structural engineer requires it. Yeah.
Exactly. But the spacing of that and picking the right place, right? It matters, right? If they just pulled out a tree, right, it's going to affect your reading. We have a house just 4 houses down from ours that they literally cleared the entire lot in the neighborhood and they didn't want to haul the trees away. So what do? They dig a trench, throw them in there, burn them, and there's a house.
Hey, let's build a house
That's
here.
fun. That's great. That's also a nice termite farm they just stuck under their house.
Yeah, absolutely, right? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And look, it's a complex world, and we don't claim to have all the answers. What we can do is we can tell you when you need to start looking.
Right.
Right. And that's the key. It's just like the check engine light that Curt, came up with the idea. It's like, this is a check engine light for your home. And it's true, right? It's when the check engine light goes on in your car, you're not saying, oh, this is the pinpointed problem. No, I need an expert to come in and take a look.
And I think that's crucial to make sure that people out there listening, whether you're a reselling potential partner of ours or a homeowner, the homeowners doesn't probably and is not going to get detailed data. They're going to get a light.
Yeah.
They're going to look at their app or their debt notification, and it'll say your home status is now yellow. Mm-hmm. Call your reseller today. And, it might be call Atlas or ABC companies
Atlas
or whatever.
gets that information too. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
They see it.
the companies like them that have this dashboard, I always picture, and you can be the proactive mechanics. We don't have proactive mechanics like you were saying. It's not like a mechanic's calling you saying, hey, Joe, I saw your check engine light's on. You need to come in. You might have a transmission problem. Mm-hmm. They don't do that. They're waiting for us to go there. We still get the warning, but you have to be the proactive homeowner or car owner to go to that mechanic. Mm-hmm. The reselling partner for the homeowner can be the proactive person because, let's face it, a lot of us are procrastinating. Oh, I'll do that next week. I'm fine. I can still drive the car. It's fine. But in this case, they can be proactive. Hey, I saw the check engine lights on your house. The Slabsure monitoring system showing something. I think there's something in the northwest corner of your home. Can we come out there tomorrow about 10 o'clock? Oh my God. Yeah, you're right. I didn't even see that. Yeah, come on out. And time is money, right? So they can attach that or attack that problem immediately by being proactive. And what a great service to the customer that you are now a consultative repair company. You're not just the one and done company.
Yeah.
And it could be something like very simple that doesn't require, digging things up and adding piers. It could just be, hey, the grading's not good in this area. It's really saturated. Let's put in a French drain. Let's get that AC condensate line, prevent that from dripping right there on the corner.
Exactly.
So it gives you the chance to get in there and fix those things before it becomes something where, hey, let's break out your concrete inside your house and add a pier, right? Mm-hmm. I wrote this down. I saw a article in Forbes that said the national average for a foundation repair is like $5,400. That probably includes like pier and beam foundations in other parts of the country. Here in Houston, in our market, and most markets with slab on grade and clay soils, that's a very cheap foundation repair. I mean, I've seen $30,000-$40,000
patching and things like that. That's waterproofing and things like that.
Yeah,
that really changes.
So I've seen $30,000-$40,000 foundation repairs on a regular basis in this area. And the bottom line is they're expensive. They're messy. Like nobody wants to deal with that. Like I've had 2 done on my house since I've owned it, in a 1950s house. And, we're tearing up the hardwoods. There's a jackhammer running in my house that my wife has to listen to while she's trying to work from home. Yeah. And it's messy. So,
and some people will choose to move out of the house in the meantime because they don't want to deal with that. They can't deal with that. Maybe they have a home office and things like that. That's a cost in itself to have to, resituate your situation. So.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I mean, it's the cost. Let's say it's $30,000 or $20,000. Pick a number. Your cost was a whole lot more than that. Right. When it got done, you had to fix that wood, and you had to fix the fix the windows
and the sheetrock and everything else. Yeah.
And the big unknown is what is the cost in terms of resale. We've talked to custom builders and said, this is perfect for us when the homeowner wants it. When you put this in front of the homeowner, and they say, would you like a check engine light to make sure this foundation, this multi-million-dollar home is going to be stable? Yeah, it's a very, very easy sell. If you're trying to sell a home, though, if foundations come up, pretty much we're told that the deal is over, right? If foundation comes up anywhere, they're worried about it, or there's been a repair done. It's like, you know what? Show me the next house.
And that's a required disclosure in the state of Texas.
It is.
It's on the seller's disclosure. Have you had foundation repairs? Check. What are they? Describe.
Right. And or if they do buy the house, it's probably a major negotiating tool for the buyer.
It
All
is.
right, well, you're going to give me a big discount then if you want me to buy this house today.
And I would say this is more relevant for the average home because that is the homeowner that $10,000 foundation repair is a make or break. It's either going to happen or it's not going to happen. Most likely not. So if I'm in that market for a $250,000 house and I have to choose between two, one, well, I'll never know the status of that foundation, and I have this mysterious idea that I might be stuck with a $15,000 repair, or this one that's been monitored for a year and a half, that is a much safer play, even though it's an ugly English tutor, right?
Without
But
question.
I might.
I don't know. My wife would draw the line at the ugly English tutor. But you're right. And it's funny you say that, Toner. That is something even a new home can't offer.
No.
Right? If you had a year and a half worth of data on that ugly English tutor home,
I would know.
Compared to, and you know that the foundation is good, right? You have data that says it's good. Versus here's a brand new home. Hey, we have a great reputation. We know we do good work. Everybody does good work.
Yeah.
But you don't know that there's an ash pile underneath your house.
Yeah.
Right. And the builder didn't know because it was done by, and the developer doesn't even know.
Yep.
They have one guy in an office that contracts it out to somebody else, and they do good work, and it's just hidden. It's hidden from everybody's plain sight. It's in plain sight, but it's unknown.
It's real information because otherwise you're hiring a foundation guy to check it, and really their economics is they want to sell a foundation job.
Yes, that's right.
So they going out and getting paid $85 or $100 to look at something where you're not going to make a sale. That's not an economic model for any.
No.
But now this is assured. We know it's there, and I could say if you had a repair done and you wanted to assure the new buyer that the house was in good condition, this is the way you assure them. Otherwise, even though it's been repaired, you have a compromised sale, right? So why don't you all take a little bit of time, because we've been talking about this so well, I can imagine that the listeners like, all right, tell me what this looks like. How does this work?
Yeah. No, fair enough.
If you don't mind, I'll do it real quick, and then you can chime in all the details. But
Hey, so we get to skip the engineering version of this conversation?
Thank God.
Look at that.
he'll pull out the details if I forgot. So,
Why do you think he's here?
so in retrospect, this is how I pretty much say it all the time. I mean, you're wrapping a belt around the house. That's pretty much it. You're wrapping a belt around the house, a conduit, a tube, whatever you want to call it. There's sensors that are in those tubes every 10 feet, and they're simply you're literally trenching, small trenching. We're talking just a few inches away from the house, from the sod or the grass, a couple of plants, whatever. You just push those things to the side. You're putting your tube around the house. Your installers, it's really simple, and we'll get into the details later if we need to. But you're putting this string with that Elsa sensors. You're simply just doing screws into the foundation, and that clamp where that screw is exactly where the sensor is. So it's truly attached to the home. It's not in between the clamps, which would be a floating tube, which would give you false readings, right? So it's truly attached. So it's very simple, and you're wrapping that around the house. When it's done, you're putting the turf back on top. Nobody sees the tube, right? And there's just a little conduit that'll be popping up where the data center, if you will, of Slabsure, the little box that's sending the signals to our data farm with all the measurement data that we need to keep track of. That's pretty much it.
And how does it send that signal?
Cellular.
Cellular.
And Adrian, why don't you you brought a sample, and
Yeah, exactly.
and you've got a tube too. Why don't you hold that up, and obviously this is a clear tube, and you're not using clear tube in real life, but
No, we
for
don't.
demonstration purposes, why don't you kind of hold that up, and
Here.
people who are watching the video version of this can see what you're talking about.
I mean, they're about
go.
the size of a Texas red ant.
Close.
Right?
I've seen those. The
big
little
ones,
red
yeah.
velvet looking ones.
Yeah. That
When I play
scary
golf, I'm like, am I going to die if this thing bites
exactly
me?
right.
Like,
Danielle, let me know if you can see this. But but basically, there's a tube that
Right, pull
that
closer.
Curt was talking about, and inside the tube is a fluid. It's a dielectric fluid.
non-toxic. It can, if it
Yeah.
leaks,
It's a
it's okay.
biodegradable dielectric fluid,
Yeah.
which is the same stuff you would put in a transformer or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's the perfect atmosphere for electronics, right? It protects them, and we have these little wires. You can see them inside here. And we call them borditos because they're circuit boards and they're little. But these little borditos are all connected together and every 10 feet apart. And what happens is the dielectric fluid in here, when it's attached to the house, when the sensor goes down with the house, the pressure goes up. And the opposite, obviously, if the house goes up, the pressure goes down. And So we can measure these incredibly precisely now because we account for temperature, we account for atmospheric pressure, we account for all of the things that might, make this hard to do. And most importantly, why our patents were allowed is this thing is anchored to the foundation, right? It is measuring a position, right? Because the one of the challenges that foundation repair companies have and use forensics, there's tools out there. You've seen them. And basically they take readings all throughout that house, and that's great. It's perfect for forensics. Does an amazing job at seeing in a room where things are, right? Are they flat? The problem is that house was never flat to begin with. And that's the problem. Like it even says in all those manuals, don't use this in the garage because the floor slopes.
Right.
Can't use it on a patio because the floor slopes, right? And there's all kinds of places where you have to make adjustments for carpet pad and or
Tile.
Changes, tile.
The flooring alone.
And just
absolutely.
without this, the only way to do it is to physically go do it. Mm-hmm. Right. It's almost like you have little people in your house every hour of the day measuring.
Yep.
Yeah,
and we do photo measurements of cracks in a wall assembly, but then we have to make sure every time we come back to take that same reference photo, it has to be the exact same. It's just so inaccurate. And it really is more art right now than it is science. We have some numbers to try to justify the art, but it's an art to determine where you're deficient.
Right. And one of the, we all have our expertise and things like that, right? So I worked in data science for a while. I was a consultant for a little while doing essentially helping to generate artificial intelligence
It's your fault. It's
right?
okay. You're going.
Yeah. No. It was a buzzword before it became a buzzword. It's definitely ChatGPT has changed all of that. It's a different world, right? But it's basically there are things in data sets that can't be easily seen when you're looking at the data once a year. And that's just amplified when the data points that you're taking aren't in the exact same position. Whereas if you have the exact same reading, same location happening every hour, literally every hour, right? I can tell you the status of any of our foundations, within an hour. And, the reality is when you have that volume of data, you can see things in that data and you're always logging, right? Yep. So if when the next Hurricane Harvey comes along, if you want to know, hey, is my foundation compromised? I'm in Cabo. I got the hell out of Houston, because I knew it was coming.
Thank you, Senator.
You and Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
I like that.
You didn't know you were going there, did you?
My wife's in Bahamas right now. That's funny. But as long as you have access to the internet, you know how your foundation's doing, right? And we have a customer, American Standard. If they want to know how the foundations are doing, no big deal. We can look at it. We can look at the data. And so really it comes down to, it's sensors, it's technology, but ultimately it's about data. And that's how things improve, right? You can't design that's how we're involved in the Foundation Repair Association and other societies like that. If you want to make better foundations someday, you first have to be able to analyze the ones we're making today.
Which is going to be so great if we fast forward like 15 years from now, right? Yeah. And all of the information that we believe we know about foundation movement is anecdotal at best. Academic, we believe that we work in applied building science, not academic building science. And right now, all you have is academic information about foundation movements. But 15 years from now, and when we have a gabillion of these out there, that is applied analytics. That is the real situation. And I would be so interesting to see, and I feel bad for the person that's going to go snowblind on analyzing this, right? What we even see as climate migration affects our assemblies. But like my client in Wimberley, I could tell him, you can go hire a guy right now to evaluate your foundation. He's going to use all these tools. Or we can apply Slabsure and let's wait 18 months.
Yep.
And that data will be more useful than the evaluation tool they use today.
It's interesting you say that. We have resellers right now who they buy these by the pallet, right? It's simple.
Yeah.
And the reality is that the way that they sell foundation repairs is typically there's a 6-week lead time or so, lag time from the time that the salesman's there saying, yeah, you got a problem. We'll schedule the crews. We'll get it all that scheduled. But there is some time to be able to do an evaluation. Imagine the world you'd be in as a reseller to say, you know what we have today is empirical data, observations, right? We can say, yeah, we see the cracks. It's painting a picture that I can interpret would be, you need a certain number of piers. Well, what if you take a step back and say, you know what, we're going to install Slabsure. We're going to go monitor this thing, and we will get a finer touch, a better handle on what's actually happening. Oh, and by the way, we're going to schedule you when there's less work being done by our crews, so we can keep our crews working and all of that. It's a true win-win, right, for the homeowner and the reseller.
And because the sensors are geo-identified, you know where the problem is versus guessing.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know where it is.
I love let's acknowledge that you have a challenge. Let's gather the information and revisit this. And of course, the price point's going to be less than a full-on repair today.
Absolutely.
Right? So you are baby stepping into this, but you're baby stepping in with good data. And then if they do this on a regular basis, they look up a year and a half from now, and they have all of this beautiful data, maximized the spend, and that's going to be a better repair, and they'll be able to carry it forward. I mean, it's it's totally different.
Yeah.
I would love to be in that room with you all when you're talking to the guys. Like, I've been doing this for 40 years, right? Like, I want to be and tell him, hey, these little bitty, little bitty ants are telling us specifically what's going on in this house. And you've never seen that kind of information.
Sure. Remember something you said prior on the resellers that are repairing the home and then having the sensors around the home after, that it's not only securing peace of mind that the rest of the home may not get to that point ever again of having a major repair, but it is a huge integrity play for the reselling company. That company is going to have an additional sense of, wow, these guys are really great. I mean, don't you want my house to break again?
The point of differentiation
it's not about that. It's
giant. That, I mean, for a industry that really the only point of differentiation is how colorful your ad in the mailer is, right? That's huge. That's like everyone else and you. So, and then now that you could fill up pretty fast, right? But if I
mean, think about the guy that does not have a repair, which every time we interview our reselling discovery calls, if you will, they're all pretty much agreeing that around, 25, 30% of the homes that think they have a problem, they saw the weird crack and, oh my God, what's happening? They don't need a repair yet. They may need one soon, but they don't need one yet. There's not enough evidence to prove it, but it does look weird. I mean, just imagine that company today being able to go, you know what? You might have something strange happening, but I don't have enough evidence. But if we put this here, might cost a little bit here and there, very small amount of money compared to what a repair is. And that's going to secure that you don't get there.
That's peace of mind.
And
right
can you
there.
imagine the reputation of that company now going, man, these guys came out here. They could have just said nothing and said, we'll call you in 3 months, wink, wink, because they know it's going to break. Think about the integrity that they're creating. Wow, these guys are really cool. They're honest. They're true consultants. They're going to get their repairs. This is not going to go on every home in the whole country. We know that. But the trend is to create a win-win for everybody. You're going to have some great consultative approaches. You're going to earn some credibility. You're probably going to earn some more referrals. Call my brother. He has a problem. All these things become a win-win when you're doing it right.
And the monitoring is probably going to reduce that ultimate repair. It's worth its weight. It will pay for itself. So before we get into retail, sale, what it means to that transaction, I'm waiting for you to tell me something that's bad about this. I'm trying to find it. I can imagine probably when you have a giant piece of driveway right up against a slab, right? That might be a challenge because how do you fix that?
Yeah.
You may have to go above ground for that.
You just stop it.
You just stop it.
You literally
right?
just stop it. If you see a sidewalk, you go underneath it. That's not a problem. If you have a really big slab or a deck or something, we have 2 strings on a typical home. So it's very customizable where you want it. Hey, let's start it where the driveway begins, wrap around that side of the house. Let's go to the other half of the driveway and wrap around the other side. And now we got 3/4 of the home measured.
I wish I could wrap my pool with it. I wish I could go around the top 18 inches of the gunite and tell me if something's happening.
Yeah, you do a lot of pools.
Yeah, we do a lot of pool mysteries.
If it's moving, we can measure it, right?
Yeah.
So the problem is when it gets covered up, right?
Yeah.
And I say problem, let's say that you have a big pool deck along the back of your home,
Yeah.
right? Curt lives in an amazing home, lakefront. It's gorgeous, nice giant pad on the
Yeah.
back.
Come
right?
on, come on.
Come on, it's all right. I'll see it next month.
Yeah. But in his example, he has to make a decision, right? Do I want to have a tube in the conduit showing across the top of the deck? Or you could stick it inside the little drains that they put, the little plastic drains with the slots in it. I know you've seen those,
Yeah.
right? We fit right inside that if you wanted to, right? Or you could simply say, you know what? We're better off having 70% of the house measured and just simply leave it at that.
Yeah.
And that's what I would do. If it were everybody's different, right? Everybody's got their own opinion. It depends on how much you've been bitten by foundation movement.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And if it is moving where you don't have the tube, the other ends, like a scale, will show some evidence.
It's never a single point of movement. It's always
Exactly. Right.
2 points. There's
Yeah.
I mean, unless someone can figure out how to change lateral force, we're going to have that reserved someplace else.
That's it. And so in that particular case, what you would have is you'd have one of these cellular computers with the tube wrapping around every 10 feet. We're measuring. If you're right at a corner, pull it back a bit. No big deal, right?
Yeah.
And then when you get to the end, you cut the tube off. It literally is cut the tube off, cut through the wires, cap the fluid. It comes in the kit, and or cap the tube, and the fluid stays inside, and that's it. It's done. It's very, very simple. The that giant home that Curt was talking about was it's like 6,000 square feet or something like that, and just single story. I guess there is a second story, but it's a gigantic house, right? It's big horse area in the back and big pool, but that whole thing 2.5 hours, right, start to finish.
That's crazy. That's you could technically install 3 houses a day. I mean, at least.
They were saying by the time, if they got good at it, that's not everything. There was a couple other details, but they were doing training videos and stuff, all of that. Trench was much bigger than what it needed to be, so they could see the tube for photos and video and things like that. But the reality is their conclusion was, we can knock these things out, right?
And
It's
these
not
crews
complicated.
they're totally professionals at what they do. And they're
This is an easier install than they've done than a foundation repair.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Like this is an easy. This is light duty by comparison to normal day for them.
Yeah, and we see this typically. It's typically the same crew that would be used for like a poly job. They just do that injection molding. Say, you know what, those are quick jobs. We got a small crew. We just knock those out, and you knock them out when you need to.
Yeah.
So we've talked about doing this on older homes or existing homes, right? But is there an application for installing these on a new home when it's built?
Absolutely.
You could. Yeah. I mean, before we used to go literally within the rebar, and that was really cumbersome, though. It was a lot of complications, a lot of political stuff with architects and engineers. Oh, what are you doing in my plans? This isn't going to happen. No. It was like, So it could be done if they really want it. Have all the veins of the home measured technically without just the perimeter. But generally speaking, as soon as the home is poured, you can then wrap this thing around it right away.
Yeah. I was thinking if you could do this from the very beginning, you're setting a true baseline for the house at that point, right?
Yeah, and the magic is, and this is one of the things that's just changed, right? Our very first job we did here in Hedwig Village, city inspector comes out and says, "What are you doing? Well, what's this pooping doing inside of my beams? I'm shutting this thing down." It's like, hold on, we're not putting plumbing inside here. We're measuring foundations. And it's like, what? We had a great conversation, and he allowed it all, but we've always had that challenge between, all right, it's run on power, right? So the foundation's poured and you're starting to build the house. There's still no power per se. There's no house to attach the unit to. Well, we've solved that now. Now, the moment that the foundation is poured, which beautifully, because the soil is nice and soft, right? They've just done all that form work. Attach it on the way outside. You put it on a temporary post. It's now battery operated.
Yeah.
So being battery operated has changed everything. And then it's just, okay, when the time comes to take it off that temporary post and put that computer on the side of the house, okay, reset your baseline, record it in the database. Hey, all the numbers jumped. Here's why. And it's good. But what that allows us to do is to monitor what's going on during construction. We did a house for one of our first custom builders that we worked with, repeat customer, which we love. And then, they came out and they loved the stonework. The husband and wife loved the stonework on the outside of this house. I couldn't stand it. It was not my thing, but they loved it, right? And so they asked the builder, who we'd gotten to know, and said, whether or not they could put a stone fence around the outside of the property. And they did. The guy was great at stonework, but didn't know anything about, water maintenance and things like that. So there were no weep holes, right? So the water went in, but didn't leave the property, right? And so this house turned into just basically an island surrounded by water.
A moat,
A moat. And so we had an agreement and said, all right, we'll do our baseline readings because we had a sensor. Not going to bore you with sharing that history, right? But we measured inside the house and said, no big deal. The house is underwater essentially, or damn near, right? We can go out and do the readings again. And you talked about peace of mind. Imagine the peace of mind when the builder and the homeowner and the contractor who did the foundation knew that the foundation was absolutely rock solid. Mm-hmm. That foundation over 3 months moved 0.001 inches on average.
Yep.
That piece that says, all right, we're moving forward, right? I understand we're concerned about it. We're going to take care of the weep holes. We'll fix that for you. We'll send you that bill. But this construction project is moving ahead, right? And same thing. We have high-end custom home that had just a big vertical crack in it. It's like a year old. Like, what's going on? That shouldn't happen, right? Study the house, confirm that it isn't moving or isn't moving anymore. Settling happens.
Yep. Cracks happen,
right? Yep. That's the real world.
There's no way to build crackless concrete. It doesn't exist.
Exactly. Yeah. And so let's live in the real world, right? And said, look, yes, a crack happened, but we also have concrete data, period, right, that says that it ain't moving anymore. Mm-hmm. So now peace of mind, again, that says, all right, we'll fix the crack. We'll take care of that. It's cosmetic, and it's only cosmetic. It's not going to happen again.
But we have the data to show that it's only cosmetic. Otherwise, it always looks like you're trying to get out of a warranty.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yes.
It's also important to say that, like, all foundations are going to move to some extent. There's no such thing as a foundation or some soil that's not going to, it's always going to have some movement. So it's also being able to show a pattern that says, look, every single summer it's going to do this. Every single winter it's going to do this. This is a normal,
and that's why
modulation.
I want this data like at year 3, because now all of these things that I tell people, and I will literally have the data based off of. I could even zero in on. I could go to you and say, hey, I have this case in this part of Houston, and you could pull up the empirical data and go, yes, the average movement of a slab that age is this, and you're within range. Right. It's no more guesswork.
That's right.
So it's going to be huge for forensics. It's going to be huge for legal cases, right? And the reality of how a slab performs is technically not known. Mm-hmm. Because no one goes out and tests it.
And you can slice this data. I mean, you can say between January of 22 to December 23, how'd my house do with all the freeze and the drought, and you can see the pattern of behavior. Yeah, your house performed pretty nicely here. Another home may be all over the place, and it needs help.
And if I was a concrete manufacturer, if I provided steel, if I provided post-tension cables, I would be hungry for this, because you'll be able to then go, okay, well, all my post-tension cable slabs go from this age to this age with this slump ratio of concrete and all this kind of stuff. That's how that performs. But you could modify your product this way.
Right.
So they have I know there's labs that try to recreate these situations.
Sure.
But every time you're trying, there are.
And then I think about we're talking about some of the new home technology, how this would be such a great asset too. But the 30, 40, 50-year-old homes, that's a big deal. That's another wave of the market of, I love the older homes and, the old, wood floors and all this and that. They just don't build them like they used to, those kind of things.
I know that.
There's going to be that client, right? But one of the spouses or somebody's going to go, yeah, but the foundation's going to be a problem, I bet. This is a 40-year-old home, blah, blah, blah. You know, well, it hadn't happened yet, but it's going to happen now. The odds are in our favor. It's going to happen. This prevents that. If you're going to whip out a few $100,000 or more for a home like that, why not whip out maybe a couple of more and get this whole thing in
Or
there?
if I was selling it, I would get that. Hey, you know what? No problem. We'll go ahead and pay for the Slabsure to be installed, and you guys will at least know, right? No more guesswork. Not what you think or what I think. This is what the reality is.
That's
and
it.
if they had already had it repaired, 2 years ago, it'd already be there. So, information is power, guesswork. I spend so much time talking people off the cliff with this. So, I mean, I think it's pretty clear how my group will be has already been utilizing this. So it's really just so the network of people that install it, the resellers. Are you all at the point now that I can pretty much say every major city in Texas has a reseller, and then New Jersey, or where are we at with that?
Yeah. So we
Go ahead. Well, I was just going to say it's scattered right now. I mean, we have someone in Montana, someone in the Mid-Atlantic. We have I think we have a Dallas one now. We have 3, 4 in the greater Houston area.
Done. I don't care about everybody else.
Yeah. So we even have somebody. We even have someone in New Zealand. Believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah. So we didn't market New Zealand. They found us at World of Concrete. Yeah. And this guy's not a repair company. He's just a reseller of multiple home products, if you will. And he's already getting it going slowly but surely. And we're not spending tons of time with him, to be frank. We want to take care of our home city first. Yeah. And people like Atlas and other people like that are a huge win for us, and for hopefully we are for them. But yeah, I mean, we can do this all over the world. Yeah. In other words, if it can be measured, we can do it.
Sure.
We've definitely gotten our stride, right? When we were trying to sell to individual homeowners, it's a difficult sell, right? Because you have to explain everything, and that, ultimately we're selling peace of mind, right? And so a foundation repair company, that's the model for our reseller, right? That's the typical model. They also sell peace of mind, right?
Yeah.
But you that peace of mind that says, all right, Atlas was here today. Great. That's fantastic. But what the ownership there recognized was that, that's today. We sell peace of mind every hour of every day, right? If you want to know that the foundation was repaired and is still doing okay, you're going to look at that app on the phone and say, my status is green.
Yeah.
Right? That's the peace of mind. And the only way you know is to know, right?
Yep.
You can't look at your car in the parking lot and say, yeah, everything's fine. Check engine's light not on. You have to turn the darn thing on, and it has to analyze the data, and then you know.
And I love the fact that they don't have to have the app on their phone. If something goes wrong, they will receive a notification through a couple of different ways. Email.
That's right.
They don't have to keep that one app that they may never.
And even if they don't want to look and they turn off, they're one of those. I have some friends that have like 300 unread texts. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm not calling you during an emergency. But it's out there, right?
It's amazing. Phone and it's like all these little bubbles in their phone. It's like, just like clear the notifications.
Do you just want to throw your phone in the ocean? I mean, go ahead. But that's where this proactiveness from the reseller is so valuable that you can be completely disconnected, but someone's still going to call you and go, hey, Mr. Smith, you need us to come by.
Just like the story I told when we were getting ready for this conversation. I was on vacation. I was not paying attention to my home because I'm on vacation. And my AC system is monitored. My AC contractor contacted me and said, hey, by the way, we're at your house. We're fixing your frozen coil.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Thank you for that. But I did not come home to a hot house or a flood or a problem. Done. I love that. And that it's really simple to happen. And that's what's going to happen in the background. And the foundation provider would be able to just tell you, hey, by the way, we're coming over. We see something. We're going to get it figured out for you. Don't worry about it.
Right.
That is, I think that's more powerful than the app, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I think the app is there for people who want to, and normally they'll be involved, and then it'll kind of fade away, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The anomaly will wear off, but it's really, or the honeymoon, I should say. But the thing that's really important, and for the resellers out there, don't worry. Your homeowner's not going to see that your house moved 0.02 inches and they're going to call you, hey, what's going on with my house?
That's only Adrian.
But they're only going to see
engineers.
They're not going to see data. They're not going to see the data. No different than when the check engine light comes on your car. You're not seeing all the measurements of the oil pressuring and this and that. You're just going to call the mechanic. I have a check engine light. So they're just going to see green, yellow, red.
Yep.
Red means this is not good. Yellow means you're getting to where this is not good, but you're still okay, right? It's like your blood pressure is kind of getting higher than normal. we need to go check you out, make sure you're fine.
Yeah, I've got some engineer clients who would be every night before bedtime, hey Curtis, my foundation moved 0.00001 last night. Yeah. Can you please send somebody out tomorrow?
And for that reason,
no, I don't want that guy.
Yeah,
that's right.
It's funny.
I was going to say we just talked to a reseller potential customer this morning in your parking lot, and he was like, "Am I going to get a bunch of people calling me?" I'm like, "No." I said, "Yellow is not normal. Yellow is once in a blue moon. Most foundations are going to hold their own for a while, and you're going to all of a sudden have this boop. I got 100 installs. One of them's yellow today. I need to go check them out."
They should be excited about that because it is likely it is not related to the repair they did. It's related to the rest of the repairs that are impending still.
Exactly.
And we all say that. They all say that when in most contractual foundation repairs, it says that it is likely that if you've had one repair, you will have another repair in the future. It is likely. So I would be excited. Like I would look at my board and go, "Do we have any yellows today? Oh, we got 15 yellows. Let's go. It's going to be a good week."
Right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that. The last year was a good year in the foundation repair business, right? Because it was a dry year. Well, this year they're rocking it as well, right?
Yep.
And that just goes to show that we are affected by things that are absolutely unrelated to the design, right? We're sitting on soil. The soil expands and contracts. It moves up. It moves down. That's just the real world.
Yep.
Right? And so if you want to put your head in the sand and say, you know what, it's going to move, and nothing I can do about it. Reality is you can't.
Yeah, that's why insulators and HVAC contractors and foundation builders all have the hardest job because they are the intersection between the controlled indoor environment and the uncontrolled outdoor environment.
Correct.
They will see the majority of opportunities or challenges, but most of them are outside of their control anyways.
Yeah.
Versus that's why being a countertop guy is pretty good, right? You sell that stuff one time, see you later. You don't have to monitor that countertop.
That's right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if people are interested in Slabsure, if they're listening, again, you guys are selling through resellers. You're not selling direct public. But if they wanted to check the availability of your product in their area, I think I saw on your website you've got a form where they can go on there and get information about dealers.
And we'll refer them to our reselling partners. So we won't sell anything directly. So this is good for the homeowners to know that you do have somebody. And even if you're somebody in a city or state we're not in yet, we'll have someone close to them that's maybe 2 cities away to sell them the Slabsure product.
Yeah.
And they'll install it and do this and that. So, so we'll definitely make sure that happens. I mean, here in Houston, it's really easy. I guess we could announce our newest partner, Level.
Yeah. By all means, Level Check.
So Level Check is also in the game now. So we're very excited to have them as well. So there's some very reputable, great companies. And like I said, we're very conscious. We're not going to just let anybody be our reselling partner. Yeah, it's exciting to have more partners that want to do it, but they gotta have a good reputation. They gotta have a good history and things like that. That's very important.
Yeah, so one thing I'll say is here in Houston, there's the big players. You mentioned Atlas, Level Check, those kind of guys who are legit companies that have been around for a long time. They have a history, right? I have a real estate license. I used to do a lot more real estate sales, and what I would see was people would get the quote from Atlas or Level Check, and it's like $20,000, and they'd be like, "Oh my God, that's way too much money. Let's find Chuck in the Truck foundation repair who's going to be $10,000." That guy is all about the one-time sale in and out. These guys that you guys are working with, again, these are established companies who are going to monitor it. They're going to be there to support the sale they just made. Chuck in the Truck foundation repairs is going to be gone next year, and his warranty is not worth the paper it's written on.
No, I mean, I had a neighbor that and I won't name any names. It wasn't you, Adrian. Don't worry. But they got a pool, a very expensive pool, with all kinds of contraptions and little waterfalls and stuff, and a lot of people didn't want to do it, or they didn't hire them because it was going to be really more expensive than expected. And they did go to something that was a little less expensive, and now they have all kinds of problems and lawsuits and the things leaking and the pumps not working.
Wow.
within just a year or two, and it's a bad situation.
I appreciate the referral to your neighbor.
I'm not kidding. If it comes up, I'll let him know. But it's
Maybe you should come to poker next time.
You know, it's so elementary. We've been knowing this since we were kids. You get what you pay for.
It's shocking, isn't it?
It's just
crazy.
so. I mean, there's a reason why expensive restaurants have better food. There's a reason why an expensive car lasts longer. Your home, again, back to why don't we have chickens? It's amazing that we're the first ones doing this, that there's not a warning flag for the most expensive purchase you'll ever make.
And there's never been an option except for taking the guy's word for it. Now there is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, you talk about having the chuck in a truck, right? This is an unregulated industry. Right? Foundation repairs are unregulated. And that's the beauty of, and ultimately, that's why we never thought we would find our people in the foundation repair business. But they are, Craig is one of our a sales hunter. It's like, it's unbelievable the hit rate, right? In terms of people who really do want to do a good job.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, you get a bad reputation because guilty by association, right? There's so many horror stories you hear out there. And we thought that can't be the market for us, but it is.
I was chuckling because like I've seen foundation guys walk out with a 8-foot level, put it on the slab, and that's how they evaluate the foundation, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so there's that, right? Versus the guys who are using Slabsure, and you know,
Yeah, I had a homeowner drop
such a big-
marbles on a slab for me the other day. I was like, "Great, thank you. This is what we're doing. You're dropping marbles on the." That's, yeah.
Because
look,
they
it's
see
real.
videos of that.
Yeah, I
right?
know.
Yeah. No, I've seen videos as well. It's like, oh, usually it's a golf ball or a tennis ball or something like that.
Yeah.
If it rolls, it's a problem.
It's a problem.
Yeah.
But you know, it's funny you say that. My we built our house, I guess, 2014. That's the year I got my MBA. And 2014, we were out there. My kids are all walking around this foundation, and they did the same thing. They wanted to see will it roll, and it rolled. Right,
It's going to roll.
It's going to roll. Right, and that was the challenge. Actually, this is why our patents were allowed. Right, we realized that surface that every foundation repair company, every forensics guy, everybody, and the builder is relying on isn't flat. It would be an absolute miracle if it was, right? That concrete came out of a tube and it makes a cone, and you got to work it and work it and work it.
and humans were flattening it by hand. Yeah.
And it's raining. Sorry, real rain. A lot of rain's coming. I got to cover it up before the rain. That's as far as I can go, right? You're measuring something that isn't flat and making judgment calls on whether it should be flat.
And pouring it onto something that's not flat.
Oh, yeah,
right. Like,
absolutely.
tell me where the flat begins.
Yeah,
and
no
I would.
kidding.
I mean, that'd be
And
amazing.
this is actually a great segue to back to the install part. After you install that belt or tube around the house, it doesn't have to be perfectly level. It just needs, just reasonably, because as soon as we flip the switch, it's a zero baseline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yes, every sensor is its own baseline.
that's exactly right.
Which is redundancy in evaluation. So we're not in. It's not like a Christmas light where one goes out, the others all go out.
That's
They're all
right.
independent of each other.
Which is what makes like traditional foundation evaluations difficult, because you have to select a data point that's going to be your zero inside the house, and then you're taking negatives and pluses from around that. Right.
Yeah. And you have to be able to find it next year when you do it again.
Yeah.
And now,
Yeah,
they have
where
a
was
rug.
that zero?
Where was that zero?
exactly.
Well, it was under the can light.
Yeah.
Can light here.
So this is awesome. So someone who's interested in this can get on your website. They can find a provider, and those providers are only growing every single day.
Right.
They can either say I believe I have a problem getting installed, and know empirically if they have a problem, or they can say I'm about to do a repair. Let's do the repair and then monitor going forward.
That's
Or
right.
they're building a new house and they say I want to know going forward. I need to find when I'm not doing this. Other than I just don't want to know, right? Like the ostriches don't want to know this,
Right.
But
And
everybody else,
Yeah, and you took the words out of my mouth. I always say this when I'm talking about this to a lot of people, and I'm like, I always wonder, once people are educated about this, why wouldn't you want this?
Yeah.
Why would somebody say, no, I don't want to know? You don't want to know when your house might have a major cost problem, like stressful problem, and oh my gosh, I got it. You don't want to know that? Do you want me to take the check engine light out of your car?
Yeah.
You want to wait till the engine cracks, or you just want to know when you have an oil leak? Like, so it just, I don't know why they wouldn't want it,
Yeah.
especially if they're concerned and they're calling repair companies saying, hey, I think I got an issue here.
Right.
I had we were at a trade show when we were still selling to consumers, right? And somebody said, oh, no, I don't have a problem at all. If there's a foundation issue, I'm just moving. Like, so what does that cost you, right?
Yeah.
What did you give away in equity?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
No,
you think about that
You just
mortgage.
float the cracks and move. You,
Yeah, that's
you
right.
just float
you know
it,
what?
paint it, and get out the door.
First 5 years of mortgage, which are all interest, what did you really pay, right?
Either that guy was joking or he's worth gajillions of dollars.
Yeah, it could be, right?
As we start to wrap up here, I wanted to say, Adrian, I really appreciate you've always kept me in the loop. You and I have had really awesome conversations over years. I've been really excited to see how this has organically developed. And I mean, really listening to your customers was the key here, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you all have this product, and it is a service. It's a product from a service from a product that didn't exist before, that is super relevant, that we, in terms of new technologies related to the home, we don't really see that many very often. Maybe one every decade or so. This is in that range.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you all should be very proud of what you've done so far. We're going to be big supporters of you. Always have been,
Thank you.
right?
Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
So we really appreciate you guys coming on, explaining this. It is an educative sale.
Yeah.
And this, hopefully, this is an educative podcast.
Sure.
So,
Yeah,
we'll make
and
sure.
Slabsure.com is a website, very
I
simple.
was just about to ask you to
And you'll get to
there you
visualize
go.
what it looks
Yeah.
like. There's always going to be improvements to make it even better. I mean, we're actually on new generations. And why do we do it? Make it a little bit less expensive, make it easier to install.
Yep.
No more electricians needed because it's now going to be battery operated.
Hey, no
it's
electrician. That's already a huge improvement.
Yeah.
It's huge. Huge. That was huge. We did listen to the
electricians.
customer. Trust me. They're like,
Yeah.
you mean I have to have an electrician? What? Not anymore. So
Awesome.
yeah, so it's really great.
Yeah.
And I will say this, I know we haven't talked about pricing and things like that. We don't want to be too definitive on that. I can assure you that all the competitors that are, well, not competitors, but all the resellers that may be competing, that maybe still have Slabsure to sell you, are going to be reasonably in the same ballpark. I can tell you right now that once they install it, there is a monitoring fee for it, but it's no different than what people are paying for iTunes Music or Netflix and stuff. I mean, it's going to be probably $30 plus something a month of that nature. But that peace of mind, I mean, think about what people are paying for ADT security. They're probably paying $30 to $50 a month to make sure they don't get broken into. This is to make sure your house does not become a catastrophic cost.
Correct. And even if they turned off the monitoring, the next owner can always turn it back on.
That's right. They can become a new customer.
Yes. And you can, so I think that's a good play. It's available, but good information is not free. So it should have a cost associated with it.
And it won't be dramatically different. I mean, if somebody's quoting a few $1,000s for a repair job and it's inclusive with that, I don't think you're going to feel it that much.
No,
to be frank.
And I can imagine most repairs would come with 2 year. Hey, we're going to go ahead and cover your 2 years of monitoring, right? Like
That's up to the reseller.
Yeah,
really, right?
that's
It's
what
a
I
totally
would
different
do.
market.
I would boom them. Yeah.
Yeah. It comes down to how they want to market, and that's the beauty of the reseller model. We have our arrangement with the resellers, and the resellers can pick the market, right? The market in Houston is going to be totally different, or Wembley is totally different than it is in San Diego, right?
Sure.
Right.
And they should have that freedom. Right?
Yeah, I mean, just like a beer distributor, you can go to the Astros game and pay $15 for a beer, or you can go to a restaurant and pay $2.
That's right.
So,
well, guys, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you all for joining us, Curt and Adrian. Appreciate you guys being here.
No, absolutely. You guys are great. Thank you so much for the time, and it's amazing how quick time does fly. But we made monitoring foundations actually a pretty easy conversation for 2 hours. That's pretty good.
And thank you all you guys for listening to the Your Project Shepherd podcast. We will see you next time. Take care.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you found us helpful and enjoyed listening, please support us by liking and subscribing here on your podcast platform, and also join us on our YouTube channel. We want to continue to bring you high-quality content and expert guests, and your support truly helps us to continue this journey. If you have any questions for me or my guests, or any feedback for us, you can email us at podcast@yourprojectshepherd.com. Thanks again.